I just want to thank you guys for showing up here today. You know, the internet can be an interesting place. If you spend enough time out there, you feel like the world is in chaos. There's a fatherlessness crisis. Men are horrible. We don't need men. But sitting in these rooms the last 2 days has got me fired up. So I want to acknowledge each and every one of you here today for showing up, because you guys are going to set the standards for your family, for your legacy, and for your children. And I was talking with Jamie. I only wish that there was a dad edge around when I was a kid and my dad was involved in this. So give your guys a round of applause for being here today, for showing up, for getting better, and leading your families. I got about 45 minutes up here today, and my goal is to make this next 45 minutes the most powerful, the most enlightening, the most paradigm shifting, and hopefully the most transformative of this entire weekend. I know it's a big ask that I have for myself, but I want to start off. Can everybody stand up? If you're sitting in row 2, row 5, row 8, I think that's right here, and row 11, please sit down. Row 2, row 5, row 8, and row 11. Everybody else remains standing. I want you guys to look around right now. About 70% of this room is still on their feet. What that 70% represents is the average percentage of men that are consuming pornography on a regular basis. Now, whether or not you're struggling, whether or not it's a part of your life, every room you walk into for the rest of your life, 7 out of 10 men in that room had this as a part of their life. You guys can all be seated. Now, I'm not up here judging. I'm not up here to call anybody out. I think we're living in a very interesting time right now. We're going through this transition. When we think about the pornography of today, what we have access to, what our children have access to, what our children's children are going to have access to, is probably not the pornography that we all saw when we were kids. And I think it's because of that we need to shift this paradigm and stop calling this a taboo subject. I think it's one of the most important topics and subjects of our culture and of our society right now. Because that 70%, unless we begin to address it and speak to it as it really is only going to grow. You guys are fathers. You guys are husbands. You guys are men. 56% of divorces point to the husband's pornography addiction as a reason why they split. The average age of first exposure right now is 8 to 11 years old. By the time a young boy or girl is 18 years old, there's a 90% probability that they're looking at porn on a regular basis. So today's talk is for you guys, but it's for you to be equipped to leave here today, go home, and represent yourselves, but more importantly, provide a safe place where you can lead your families. Now, like I said, I've already spoken with a couple of you guys here today. You've come up to me, you've shared some of your struggles, some of the things that are going on. I have so much respect for every single one of you sitting here right now. Like I said, this is not about guilt, this is not about shame, this is not about judgment. Because just 5 years ago, I was sitting in a room just like this, and in fact, these rooms have changed my life. So I love showing up to events like this. I love being a part of masterminds. I love being a part of groups. I joined my first mastermind in 2017. I was having a conversation with Cam yesterday. I told Larry this too. I joined a fitness mastermind. I was excited to launch a fitness business. I was coming out of my first company. We had some success, but I was really passionate about fitness, about helping others, about coaching. I hired a mentor. I thought I was going to get all the tactics, all the marketing, all the strategies to blow up, build this $1 million company. But sometimes when we come to rooms like these, what we walk away with, what we leave this event with is not what we thought we were going to get. And that's what happened to me. By putting myself and getting vulnerable into rooms like this, discovered that I was a fraud, that I was a liar, that I wasn't living in integrity. The biggest thing that came out of this mastermind, though, was discovering my faith in 2018. Not far from here, actually, downtown Orlando, Church Street, just by chance. October 22nd, 2018. Somebody I had met just a year and a half earlier in a room just like this, flew down from Toronto to share his story, to share the gospel, and to share Jesus Christ with me. It was that day that changed the trajectory, changed the path of everything that I've done with my life since then. I first got introduced to porn at 6 years old. Nosy little kid, probably like some of us were, scrounging through dad's sock drawers. You lift it up and you see something and it sparks this curiosity. What is this? Why does this make me feel this way? You know, I'm fortunate I wasn't growing up in today's culture because I could only imagine what Frank at 8, if he had a cell phone, would have gotten into. But that planted the seed. One, it showed me that I could keep secrets. My dad had secrets. Two, it showed me the beauty of the female's body, not at a time that I was ready to see it, though. Now, by 21, I was in the wireless industry. I was a very early adopter of the BlackBerry phone. I think we have a lot of young kids in here, but the BlackBerry was the iPhone before the iPhone. The first phone, streaming internet, full color, high definition. Had a lot of freedom when I was 22. Was a traveling regional sales manager, in and out of retail locations. And just like guys would take smoke breaks in the middle of the afternoon, I would find my way stepping away from work to find a private restroom in a public mall to watch pornography. Now, I knew at the time that there wasn't something right about that. I mean, how could you feel okay as a grown man sitting in a bathroom inside of a Macy's where you hear other men and you're watching pornography? But there was no conversations about this. There was no Coach Frank Rich. There was no Rebuilt Man podcast. Nobody was talking about this. For 15 years, it's a daily part of my life. Kept it from every relationship that I was in. It got to the point for me when I was in my early 30s that I had a secret laptop that stayed inside of a closet at my house. Every time my girlfriend would leave, I'd stand up at the second story window, watch her car turn down our street. The minute she turned at the stop sign, I'd run downstairs, lock the door, go through my little ritual, go through my little routine. I knew it wasn't right, but I wasn't willing to face it. I was blinded by my own doubts, my own insecurities, and also some of my own success. I've competed in bodybuilding since I was 25. A public persona, a social circle, was doing well in the entrepreneurship space. I was running a ticket brokerage. I succeeded in corporate America. Thought all these things were what defined me, what made me a man, what made me valuable. At the same time, there was this empty hole, this darkness inside of me. Now, growing up, I remember seeing my dad struggle with addictions. See my uncle struggle with addiction. Watching men in my family take their life. I'm like, oh, there's just something wrong about the riches. We have to fight through these struggles. But it's okay because I've succeeded in other areas. So as long as people don't know about that, everything will be okay. Prior to that moment in Orlando in 2018, my life was hitting rock bottom, crashing, spiraling down. I had one company that was a few $1 million over a few previous 5 years. poor money management, poor decision-making, lack of focus, crashing down, six-figure loss. The fitness business that I thought I was going to build my life around, that I hired a mastermind, wasn't gaining any traction. See, I thought I could use fitness as a way to inspire, coach, lead, motivate others to become what I would say the best version of yourself back then. Why doesn't this resonate? Why aren't people buying into my message? One morning I remember looking in the mirror. Frank, you got all the tactics, man. Everybody around me is succeeding. Everybody in my groups, my mastermind, blowing up. I'm on the same calls. I'm learning the same strategies. We had the same funnels as they do. Why wasn't it doing anything? Frank, how can you help somebody be the best version of yourself when you're living a lie? And I think Josh saw that. I think he knew that. So when we met on Church Street, and he invited me into this life, and he shared Jesus with me, I was open, and I was willing to make a change. Over the next couple of weeks and months, as I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm reading the Bible, I'm starting to feel conflicted. Okay, you're saying this is you, this new version of you is over here. You're living in truth, you're living in integrity. Every morning I was done reading the Bible, my next stop was the pornography. Very conflicting. This went on for about 4 or 5 months. Now, through that mastermind group, I had been introduced to an incredible group of men. One of them owned a gym locally in my area. For about 18 months, every week, we'd get together on a Thursday, crush a workout, then it'd become workout lunch. Over a year and a half, workout lunch, Frank, come hang out with our family. Come be a part of our tribe. At the same time, I'm wrestling with my internal conflict. I'm questioning, do these guys actually know who I am? And if they did, would they accept me? February 14th, 2019, Thursday afternoon, day that we always got together at the compound. Crushed our workout. I had some meetings later that afternoon, so I had to skip out on lunch. It just so happened, one of the other guys in that group had to skip out on lunch too. It's been a while since I caught up with Zach. I said, Zach, I got about 10 minutes. Just hang out a bit, chat about life, what's going on with you, how's school. Sitting in my car, Largo, Florida, Critical Bench compound. Just talking bro stuff. Zach goes, Frank, you ever heard of Wim Hof breathing? I say, yeah, man, Wim Hof is the man. Like, dude, this guy's changed my life. Doing this box breathing, it's bringing me peace. It's bringing me calm. He's like, you know what? But it's helping me harness my sexual energy. It's helping me stay away from porn. And when he said that, I said, what are you talking about, bro? And Zach was a fit dude, is a fit dude. He's a Marine. He's what the internet would call an alpha man, right? I said, what do you mean you're struggling with porn? He said, bro, for 8-9 years, like going all the way back to Iraq. He's like, they used to have tents set up for us out there. If you're stressed, if you can't handle what's going on, take 5 minutes and take care of it. It's like, back then, I thought it was no problem. Yeah. It's like, back then, I didn't think it was a problem. He's like, we left the war, we left the trauma behind us. What came with me was the pornography addiction. I said, Zach, man, I don't know what compelled you to share that with me here today. For months now, I've been trying to figure this out on my own. Doing all the Google searches, listening to the TED Talks, reading Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson. Trying to figure out, A, is there something wrong with me? Is this pornography addiction a real thing? This is 2019. And if it is there a way that I can overcome it? I know AA has 12 steps. I know there's rehab facilities. What do you do if you're struggling with porn? He said, bro, I'm free, man. I don't know why you're supposed to tell that to me, man. But I got something I want to share with you. And in that moment, 20 years of guilt, shame, struggles, setbacks, felt like it was free. I shared everything. What was supposed to be 10 minutes turned into about a 45-minute dialogue. I said, Zach, I love you, man. But I got 2 requests from you. Or 2 things need to come out of this conversation. I know it's going to be a struggle. I'm committed to this. Can you be my accountability partner? If I need you, brother, can I call on you? Something told me back then that this wasn't going to be something I was going to overcome on my own. And I knew it. Zach, with open arms, reeled me in. I said the next thing I need to do is I need to go home and tell Stephanie. We've been together for 4 years, to watch her car drive down the road and go through my little routine. He's like, you sure about that? I said, yeah, man, I'm done. I'm done lying. About a 40-minute commute home that day. Start getting these 2 voices on the side of you, right? This is the end, man. This is the end. You're going to be free. It's all going to come out. You don't need to tell her. She doesn't need to know that. What's one more little peek going to do? I waited till the next morning. My office was upstairs at the time. She was getting ready to start the day in the bathroom. I said, God, this is the time. Went into my closet, pulled out the little secret that had been there. I said, Steffi, I got something I need to tell you right now. What's the computer, Frank? I'll get to it. Now, it wasn't a secret back then. I had held it completely in the past from other relationships, but as guys that are getting deep and deep into this, you try to bring certain things into a relationship, and I would see how far I could push things. So she knew, but she had no clear the depth of it. Another life-transforming conversation took place, though, that Friday morning. Explained to her what the laptop was. Told her I was committed to ending it. Now, when I tell this story, it always sounds cooler than it really was, but I took the laptop and I ripped it apart. You're like, you broke a laptop? Yeah, they're kind of made in 2 pieces, but I do think that there was power behind that. I think what it was symbolizing, though, for me, was the decision. Decide to cut off, to remove the gateway, to remove the access. I said, I'm done. Went downstairs, Friday's garbage day, pulled my phone out. Josh and I use this communication app, Marco Polo. It's great for staying in touch, connecting, sharing videos. Pulled the message up. I said, Josh, man, I got something I'm going to share with you. This is probably going to come as a surprise. Or maybe you know, maybe you don't. I don't know. I've been addicted to porn for 20 years. Shared it all with him. And as I was putting the laptop in the trash, I showed him that video. Something in that moment spoke to me. And I remember looking in the Marco Polo app and saying, Josh, I don't know what's coming out of this, but this decision today is going to change the world. Months go by, fighting the urges, talking to Josh, staying in touch with Zach, continuing to learn, continuing to grow. How do I stay free of this? What's the key to unlocking this? Months go by, and anybody that's gone through this journey has experienced this. When porn has been a part of your life every day for 20 years, just 30 days can change everything. 60 days can change even more. I didn't understand brain to the level that I do now, but my brain was literally healing. It was changing, it was growing. As my brain is growing, I'm beginning to see the world through an entirely different lens. Colors were more vibrant. People were no longer objects. I could see the spirit, the soul in them. I felt connected. I felt present in everything that I did. The little moments of life that used to irritate you, used to just not want to be there, with so much joy, with so much pleasure, so much happiness came out of this. I said, man, this is powerful. Now, despite the fitness company not really doing well financially, we developed somewhat of an audience back then. Love what Larry does. The podcast is amazing. Remember hearing the first podcast that I heard, 2014, Lewis Howes, School of Greatness. Man, I can throw something on my ears and I can be in a conversation with these guys. This is amazing. So I always had this inkling inside of me that podcasting was in my future. Probably 50 different whiteboard sessions over the years. Muscle and mindset, enriched fitness. None of them had the punch that they needed. Now I had a story, though. I had a true journey. I said, this is it. Reached out to some of my network, had guys that were in the space that I knew some producers, knew people that were running their own shows, pitched the idea out to them. What do you guys think? Frank, I don't know, man. Pornography, really? You want to talk about that? I was like, well, every time I talk about it in my life, it gets accepted. Every person I look up to understands the struggle. Every guy that I share this with says, I get you, bro. I was there too. Maybe there's guys out there that need it. Maybe there's guys out there that are struggling. July 8th, 2019, episode 1 of the Superhuman Life aired. It's a longer, drawn-out version of what I shared with you guys here today. Just a stream of consciousness flowing. The ups, the downs, the lows, the highs, the secrets, the breakthroughs, the insights. Let's go, world. What you got? Turned it into an interview show. Started to find people in the space. Started to find other guys that had struggles. Our first 20 or so episodes were really focused in on addiction. Apple liked it. They put us on their new and noteworthy page. Really got us some traction. Really started to pull people to the show. Now we're 4 or 5 months into this. Got the little fitness thing on the side. I'd taken a position in a startup marketing agency. Things were going really, really well there. My inbox used to get a couple messages a day. Frank, thank you for your workouts. Helped my arms get bigger. Crushed a PR today. Dude, I'm in the best shape of my life. Those are all amazing. I still love to get those. The messages now start to trickle in. Frank, respect. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for having the conversation that nobody is willing to have. Weeks and weeks go by. Frank, I'm struggling. What can I do? Frank, can you help me? Listen to the podcast, guys. That's what I had at the time. January 28th, 2020, Clearwater, Florida. 7-figure mastermind with Vince Del Monte. They taught a marketing and sales tactic, how to launch an online business. You guys have probably seen these. I'm looking for 5 so-and-sos that want to accomplish X over X period of time. I will be your personal coach. I was in the room when that strategy was first taught. I said, damn. Let's work with porn? Talked to a few mentors at the time. Frank, God didn't take you on this journey for no reason. That following Monday, got in Canva, crafted up the little message. So here we go. And at the time, the only people that were following me were guys that were into muscle building and fitness. Looking for 5 guys that are struggling with this secret. I will personally coach you over the next 4 months to rebuild your body, rewire your brain, reshape your heart. We had 5 guys send me the word freedom. 2,600-ish followers probably at the time. 2 of those signed up. Now I got to figure out what I'm going to do. I've overcome this myself. Let's go, guys. The entrepreneurs will know. Ready, fire, aim, right? Sell it, figure it out later. But man, that was amazing back then. These guys knew where they were at. They knew what they were getting. They got daily calls with me. It was very personal touch. Over the next 4 months, though, these guys' lives transformed. Both of them. Pete and Russ. With their help, I was able to create the blueprint for what has become Reboot Your Life, which is our flagship program inside of Rebuilt Recovery. By the end of those 4 months, we had another wave of guys come in. At this point, there's now a curriculum, though. There's a little bit of structure to it, kind of figuring out what I'm doing. Still doing the marketing on the side, still paying the bills over there, getting this thing figured out over here, though. Still walking in my own freedom. Still learning my own journey. Still discovering more about myself. But when you have overcome something and you can share it with somebody else, it's truly transformative. By July of that year, I had a tough decision to make. Podcast is exponentially growing, beginning to see some traction here, beginning to see that this may actually become something. Interviewed pretty regularly, taboo conversation. But now it's getting even more mainstream coverage. Joe Rogan's done some episodes on it. Now you see guys today, Huberman, Dr. Lemke, I've had her on the show. Over the years, it's really grown, it's really been accepted. But being back there, I said, let's go. So I walked away from the agency and planted my flag deep in this space. I was talking with somebody earlier. I think you have a gentleman in your boardroom that is part of an organization. It's been amazing to see the trajectory over 5 years now. But Reboot Your Life. It's been updated, revamped. We're on a 2.0 version of it now. We've had over 1,100 successful transformations. Our videos, content, podcasts, social media has reached millions. I got a message this morning. I shared it to my social media. Every day now, though, we get stories from guys that I don't even get to personally interact with, that just find our stuff. They read our books. They go through the courses. All that started, though, with me getting honest with myself. Now, over the years, I've had a lot of conversations with men. A lot. I think there's 3 mistakes that I've been able to identify that a guy that is struggling is making that is keeping him stuck. 3. Only 3. I think the first one is what I call a frame of reference. How they actually look at this problem and try to end it. Most guys reach out to me and they say, Frank, I need help to quit porn. I need to stop looking at pornography. Porn is my problem. What I've tried to do is shift that paradigm. Porn is not your problem. Porn has become the solution to the other problems in your life. And until you find a better way to handle those problems, porn will always be the best solution. There's a gentleman in the boardroom yesterday that was sharing a weight loss transformation, 50 pounds or so. Is he here today? Okay. Powerful, powerful testimony. But he said something that I don't think the room actually received it in the way that he said it. He said for years, he was looking for the tactics, the strategies, the diet, the workout program to lose this weight. The question he never asked, the information he never received, was who is the person he needs to become? Who do we have to become in our life to remove pornography out of it? Our Rebuilt Recovery logo is a phoenix that becomes a lion. The phoenix is the symbol of death and resurrection. And a lion represents what I believe all men are here and all men are called to be. Something powerful, something that takes dominion. So through this journey, we have to start asking the question, if I'm struggling with porn, who must I become to keep this out of my life? It's this paradigm shift that when I spoke to Larry on the podcast, that's probably the reason I'm here today. He shared with me, Frank, there's still times where I struggle. There's still times when I'm alone at home, supposed to be working, and I'm thinking about distracting myself over here. So we don't have to do that anymore. Larry, you're fit. You guys seen Larry's transformation? It's incredible. But Larry can identify as a person that doesn't eat fast food. He can identify as somebody that doesn't drink alcohol. How do we identify ourselves as the man that doesn't look at porn? So the first mistake that men make that keep them stuck, keep them shackled, is the frame of reference, trying to quit the behavior instead of asking the question, who must I become? Mistake number 2 is using old and outdated systems. The drug that we're trying to fight right now is 20 years old. 25 at best. Talking about internet streaming pornography. One of the most addictive drugs in the world. 12 Steps is amazing. The organization has helped more people out of addiction than any other organization in the world. But those principles are rooted in 20th century science, the early 1900s. How much more do we understand about human nature, about psychology, about behavioral science, about neuroscience than we did 120 years ago? Talked about the identity with Larry when I stepped up here. I don't want the men that we work with every day to raise their hand and say, I'm a porn addict. Recognize it once. Call it out for what it is. But then begin to identify who you must become. Small groups are good. Reading the Bible, praying is amazing, should be a part of every man's life. But guys that are struggling and are believers have probably said, you just got to pray harder. You just got to read the Bible a little bit more. It's in there. And I do believe the answers are in there. But if all we needed was the Bible and prayer, why do 56% of pastors still struggle? There's a missing piece. So you have a poor frame of reference, using broken, outdated, incomplete recovery systems. And the third one is we try to do this alone. We don't want our brothers to know. We're afraid of the judgment. We're afraid of the shame that comes with this. Great friend Cynthia runs an incredible organization. Larry's had Cynthia on the podcast. Says pornography is an intimacy disorder. In order to overcome it, we must expand our capacity for real intimacy. Nobody runs to porn when they feel connected to others. Nobody's running to porn when they're hanging out with their brothers. It's done in secrecy, it's done in privacy. To break that chain, to get free out of this, you got to do it with others. You guys understand that. You guys do life with other men. You talk about your relationships with your wife, your relationships with your kids, your businesses, your social investments. But we tend to keep this one tucked away. For me, it was that first conversation that unlocked everything. It was the ability to look another grown man in the eye without fear of judgment, guilt, or shame and say, this is who I am. Went back to the original creation. I got naked for a minute. You can't do this alone. Now I'll be around here for the afternoon looking for a conversation. There's a code in the book. If you guys want to do that online. But I think something that we've been able to create through our system, through what I say is the world's only fully integrated, holistic approach to porn addiction recovery. I truly believe Rebuilt Recovery is setting the standard. I don't like to sit up here and say, it's great timing as a business guy. I wish this problem didn't exist. But I'm glad God brought me here. And I think what we're doing is just getting started. And we are impacting thousands of lives right now, and it will become millions. It all started with a first step for me, though. Now, in 2019, when I sent that message to Josh, I said, I don't know what's coming out of this, but it's the beginning of something amazing. I think back over the 5 years, things I've been able to do, the people I've been able to connect with, the people I've been able to help, the charities that we've been able to be a part of, the relationships that I've been able to create. None of that would have happened if I didn't take back control. So I'm so honored and grateful to be here with you guys today. So much respect for every single one of you showing up here. But as I said, sometimes when we come into these rooms, the things we get out of it are not what we expected. Thank you, guys. And Larry, I guess we will turn it over to you.